Hi, I'm back again. I'm going to try to knock out a couple of videos today because it just seems to be the most healthy and easiest healthy thing I can do for myself at the moment. I'm still a little not quite post crash, kind of in the crash, heading towards post as soon as possible, hopefully. Um, so I wanted to thank the people who watched my last one. Um, uh, it was it was indeed soul bearing. Um, and I think it was helpful. I think for me anyway, it was helpful. But I think I'm coming to some realizations that might be helpful to other people in some way or another. Lessons that I'm continuing to learn or be reminded of in any case, while still kind of staying true to where I've stood for a long time on a lot of these things. But most of you guys out there don't know me, so you don't know where I stand on issues. And yeah, there are days I'm not sure either. And I don't mean political issues. I mean like personal issues, issues of the heart, the mind, the spirit, and all that stuff. How to, you know, how to get yourself straight, and I don't know. I don't want to do like a self help thing, but and I'm not to the level of people I know like I discussed yesterday on the soul bearing video that I used to be with. Um, I'm not on that high a level, and I doubt I'll ever be able to dig that deep into the human psyche via metaphysics as that person does. But I don't need to. I've got my own thing, and um, there was a time I wished it would complement hers. Obviously, she doesn't feel it does. So it's okay. I'm still kind of like over here in the corner suffering, but at the same time, um, I'm attempting to stay in touch with, what's me and uh, what I can do to, take care of myself, to to manifest self care and uh, keep going. Basically, I mean that's really what this is about, really, because right now the world is kind of at a standstill. Excuse my shaky work here. Right now, the world is at kind of a standstill with things. It just kind of seems to be creeping into madness more every day. And so, obviously, I feel like um, this is an area where sometimes the best you can do is just kind of, I don't know, the status quo. I don't know if I want to put it that way because your mind can continue to be free and explore new ideas all the way unto death. I mean, that's a freedom that no one can take away from us. And but anyway, in this time, in this age, whatever, this total madness, this kind of seizing the world, it's been building for many, many years. Um, and my personal madness is not helping, and the world's madness is certainly uh, not helping my personal madness. It's making it a lot worse. And the anxiety and tension of everyone is ramped to a breaking point, some more than others. Of course, the people like me who are not of the 1%, who are not wealthy, do not have as many recourses as they do to provide self care, to obtain care from others, and that's the way this system is designed. It was designed to do this. And perhaps on another video I'll go into more detail socio-politically about all this and socio-economically where I feel like we, the world, and we, the U.S., and we, you and I, the people that are communicating this way, uh, what is really happening and what we need to know, what we need to remember to, get through it if we can get through it. The best we may be able to do is to get through it on an individual level, but people are starting to help each other more in some ways. some ways we're becoming more distant. This pandemic crisis is kind of making both things happen at the same time, and I'm not really sure what's going to win out. You know, will more people who are awake to reality unite, or will these divisions imposed on us by these monolithic structures continue to divide us? And that's something I read about daily, we encounter daily. If we, follow any kind of news, I personally do not follow the mainstream news whatsoever anymore. But not just news, people's opinions, people's views. I am on social media. I'm less active as far as my output is on it right now, and it probably will stay kind of less active. I think this last election kind of broke me on on the whole thing, but I don't want to stay on it for the friends I have, and I do like reading other people's views, and I probably won't be commenting as much. I definitely won't be, and being drawn into as much of the internecine conflicts that arise within these groups and between people and their friends, their families, because of all this kind of stuff. So I had to stretch my neck. There, I think it popped. So my beard is in better shape today, thank goodness. I washed it and it's much more fluffy and not going weird kind of fishy directions. So I'm going to try to slow down and just talk a little about what I'm doing, where I'm at, and I think I'll eventually, find a plot in all this. I usually do, not always, but I'm trying to make some small decisions that will end up affecting larger decisions and inform them and push me in a direction out of this wreckage that I'm in now. And I know the wreckage is internal, and it's been caused by forces outside of myself, events and people that I can't control, that I can't anticipate, that I can't fathom anymore. And I have stopped trying, but my mind is still recoiling from the wounds that have been inflicted on me by the attempts. And it's a hard place to be. So I'm taking some time off from my day job. I'm getting a little help from my main counselor, and I'm kind of going into, because really trying to get a whole lot of medical help for my situation right now is going to end up, only in one or two ways, and they're all going to be detrimental to me, to my future, to my mental health, even though they're supposed to be aiding my mental health, and to my finances, which will cause more sorrow for me and more pressure on my mental health. So I'm going to kind of go try to take this, like several days at a time, a few days, pockets at a time. Luckily, the nature of my day job is I'm not working for a big corporation, even though I'm working subcontracted to one. So there is leeway, because I am essentially doing direct sales and responsible for my own sales. So the days I'm not paid a flat rate is just money they're saving, essentially, the money I'm not making, unless it leaves someone in a dire spot for coverage. It's not as big an issue as if I worked, for, say, Target itself, which I do not. Anyway, right now I've been checking out Personal Problems, directed by Bill Gunn, which is described as a meta soap opera, which basically is two big installments, each one an hour and a half long, roughly. Excuse me. And it's basically African American cast. You'll see some familiar faces. Sam Wayman from Guns and Hess is a very prominent one. And Ishmael Reed, famous author, he conceived this a while back before it finally was realized by Bill Gunn in 1980, but it was all shot on video. And video then wasn't what it is in 2020. And and every time I say 2020, it just everything about it just, I don't know, everything just lines up for just, it brings out my dark sense of humor. It just, I can't believe where we're at, what year we're in, and like Dale says, what year is this? What year is this, Dale? They tell us it's 2020. I don't even know anymore. How do we get here? How do we get to this horrible spot? Anyway, I'm sure this has nothing to do with personal problems, even though I've been relating some of mine lately. But this thing is called Personal Problems, and I do have it on Blu-ray. Kino Classics cleaned it up as much as could be possible from the master tapes and released it on Blu-ray just a few years ago, and I was happy to scoop it up a couple years ago when I got, same time I got my finally upgraded Ganja and Hess itself to Blu-ray, also done by Kino. So this could turn into a blue review. It's going to be a little bit of everything. I can kind of tell already. So it's going to be an arbitrary interlude, no doubt. I hope people are watching it though, despite it not being, you know, an blue review or about Twin Peaks or, you know, specifically me, you know, soul wrenching kind of stuff. I'm kind of going to range around because I don't have this attention span, I think, at the moment to focus and create some really solid work in my specialized area, like on music and stuff like that. But excuse me, it's not the company. It's just, you know, I'm tired. But I don't have attention span per se for that. Um, but I do have a lot to say, some kind of unused burning energy um, that I'm trying to, I'm trying to, I don't know what's the word, express. We'll stick with that one. I'm trying to express what I need to express, what has been inexpressible of late for me. And that's mainly done in the soul bearing videos. So, but I think I can bring it down to a different level and say, you know, this is what I'm up to, this is what I'm doing. If I haven't made an impression on people who are watching this and of any kind, I don't have much of a following, then none of this is going to be important to anybody anyway. So I might as well just be myself and say what I'm going to say. And I'm not worried about likes and thumbs ups and et cetera, you know, audience, subscribers. I would like all of them. They would really help me, and I think it would be cool. And I'll keep working to obtain them in different ways, but I'm not pandering or anything. I'm still going to be me, and I realize I'm an acquired taste. I'm a niche taste. There's not going to be many people who are going to be in the mood for Henry Covert, and you know, I'm seeing that more than ever, believe me. And as I grow more solitary by the day, it seems. But this is a way to connect with someone and a way to connect with myself. You know, maybe improve my own communication skills, maybe get to know myself a little bit better. So this exercise works on multiple levels. So, you know, it can be enjoyed as entertainment or as something more. I'm just kidding. But back to the entertainment part of it. Uh, Bill Gunn had appeared in the, well, I think it was after this. He appeared in a cool movie. I gotta shake this. Another African American feature called Losing Ground, which I quite enjoyed. I saw it on a double feature TCM one night a couple of years ago after Daughters of the Dust, Julie Dash, which I'd never seen, believe it or not. And I enjoyed that one a lot, but I actually loved Losing Ground a lot more. And that's kind of what helped put me on the trail of personal problems, that and the Ganja and Hess connection. So Bill Gunn essentially has directed, like as director, done 3 pieces in his short life. You know, he did a feature in the early 70s that apparently we'll never see. And I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, as usual. But it was a feature that just wasn't released after it was made. I can't remember if it was made for a studio or not. I want to say it was, but I'm not sure. Sometimes that stuff's confusing. For instance, we think of Sweet Sweetback's Badass song by Melvin Van Peebles as the beginning of Blaxploitation, and he came out of nowhere but he didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, that was an indie movie through and through, financed by the people supposedly, and um, he made a fortune because the people went to see it and by the millions, untapped audience of inner city people, and it was huge. But where did this guy come from? Well, he'd already done a studio film called Watermelon Man, which also was a comment, a satire on race, not nearly as caustic and powerful and revolutionary as Sweetback. Um, but nonetheless, and I'm wishing that would come on Blu-ray and soon, not soon, like in the next few weeks, but in my near future life, if I can continue to avoid the pit finance-wise, I would like to cheaply pick up Sweetback on Blu-ray. I just sold my DVD a few days ago. Someone who's gonna give it as a Christmas gift. Thought that was pretty cool, so I'm gonna ship that out to them Thursday and hope they get it as soon as possible. Um, Sweetback is incredible. I know I'm going all over the map. Try to follow. If not, then I don't blame you if you want to pick me up at a later time. But this is kind of how it is. It's a rambling, arbitrary interlude. So let me get back to it. Essentially, I'm not doing a blue review piece, but when I do one again, when I start doing them again, I don't know. I'm really tired. Ugh, I think it's oxygen, though. I mean, I don't feel like I'm going to fall over or anything. Um, breathe. I do want to do a couple of Blaxploitation themed um, episodes. The range of Blaxploitation, and I'll be using as the root, Blu-rays that I own of their Blaxploitation, and then ones that are already also out there. Um, and maybe mention a few movies that need to be on Blu-ray, like I did Watermelon Man. Um, with Blaxploitation, it's not a bottomless well as spaghetti westerns seem to be, but it is a really really deep well. As of today, all told, I haven't seen one today, but just what I have today as far as my current count on my letterbox site, where I keep a diary and reviews and ratings of basically every film I see and have seen. The mammoth undertaking, but it's a lot of fun. Easy to update every day and add to. So on that side, I have a Blaxploitation letterbox list, and believe it or not, it has about 87 likes. The magic number 87. It's been very magic to me for a while now. It has about 87, maybe more. I think 87 likes. I don't know who they are, but they like my list, I guess, because there's a lot of fucking movies on it. And excuse my lingo. And the closed captions on here, when you play this stuff back, all the times that I curse are what is perceived by YouTube as a curse word, a bad word. It just keeps typing and just ignores the word altogether. Occasionally, if you put quotes around it, it will have a little blank thing in parenthesis, but still empty. So the algorithms here are really geared towards, hey, look, man, clean up your language. Clean up your language, man. But man, I'm not gonna have a fucking robot tell me to clean up my language. That ain't gonna fly, baby. So anyway, um, essentially, yeah, a Blaxploitation special, Blaxploitation letterbox. I'm getting the thread back. Um, so I have like 190 films on there that I've seen so far in the genre subgenre, and it's sub and sub genres. Anything that could be conceived from that general period, anything from related directly to that period, like a strong homage, pastiche, remake. Should have put slashes in between those three words. I will include, though I don't, see them as important as the other movies. For instance, Black Dynamite will be on there. If I've seen it, these are only ones I've seen. Black Dynamite will be on there, is on there. The three Shaft sequels, continuations, mild reboots that have come out this millennium. I've seen all three now, and they're all on there. And or are there just two? Wow, that could get me really confused. No, there's two of them. One in 2000 and one in 20, only a couple of years ago. And they're both called Shaft. Go figure. But anyway, yes, those two are on my list. But those are just some, ones. Black Devil Doll from Hell from 1984, which is a remake of Black Devil Doll. I mean, that's getting kind of late in the cycle. Well, no, actually, the original is 1984. That's getting late in the cycle, but it fits because Jim Afanaka was still kind of doing a lot of prime blaxploitation all through the 80s. So he kind of kept the torch going almost single-handedly. But there's a remake of that in the 2000s, and it's close enough and close enough in spirit, albeit much more even risque and nasty than the original. So I included that, and films that are more like serious films from that period. They can be serious genre films like Ganja and Hess, which is seen largely as an art film nowadays. Perhaps was intended to be one all along. Black Jesus, Italian film, which is a pretty serious pastiche of Patrice Lumumba's final days on Earth, starring Woody Strode. And of course, key films like The Learning Tree, which is not a genre film, but it was the first studio film ever directed by an African American. So, Gordon Parks. So, Gordon Parks did Shaft, and Gordon Parks spawned Gordon Parks Jr., who did Superfly and some other notable films. So, pretty essential to put that on there. There's several films like in the latter half of the 60s, probably no earlier than 1966 or 67. A lot of things broke in 67 with the arts. It was a magical year. But there are a lot in those years that are definitely kind of blaxploitation, but there was not a codified subgenre. It was not commercially viable on a large scale yet. Shaft kind of made that possible, and Superfly fortified that to where you had studio blaxploitation films like the Shaft films and Cleopatra Jones and Black Belt Jones. Don't ask me if they're related or not, and they probably are. And then you had like the indie films, which were everything else. And Superfly kind of is right nestled in the middle. It's considered to be most a big movie because it made a huge amount of money, even more than Sweetbags. And it became much more mainstream among crossover with white audiences and not simply inner city dwellers. And but it was definitely an indie film shot on a shoestring, and Warner picked up the distribution, shrewdly threw it out there like as a post-Shaft movie, but as an anti-hero instead of a cop, instead of an irreverent cop like Shaft. Youngblood Priest he's a cocaine dealer. He's trying to get out from under the life. So anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into a blaxploitation special. This is just a one digression. There may be several more, but that's a field I'd like to discuss. I can speak pretty freely about these films. I've seen them all. No, I haven't seen them all. I've seen 190 of them, and it's an area I'm really relaxed talking about. I really enjoy. I've written about the history of blaxploitation for several different zines and venues in the past. It's been quite a while, and I've learned a lot since I last did. But I've been asked to do like setups and introductions, and I did one on the movie dystopia site that group that I was in on Facebook a couple of years ago. So I weighed in there, and so I've accumulated a good bit of knowledge there, and love to share it. A lot of it is probably known by a lot of you. Some of it isn't. So, hey, what the heck? We can help stimulate each other's brain pans um, while we're in quarantine for various reasons. Um, I consider that I'm going into quarantine now. This is a self-imposed quarantine. It's related to the COVID and stuff, but it's also I'm claiming my mental health days. They're not paid, of course. This is America. But I am going to go into my own quarantine. I've been kind of inching that way in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Um, Not able to make all of my shifts working in the public, and started to kind of get back on track with it. But real life hit me kind of hard. Things were already kind of going in this fevered direction, and I could tell the symptoms, I could tell the feelings, that I was going to need to convalesce, but that I did not want to convalesce in a mental hospital. Uh, and I refused to ever do that again. So, but the treatment I'm seeking this week is actually an attempt to not have to fall into that, uh, for that not to become an eventuality. Because, I think it would break me while trying to help me. It would break me in a lot of other ways. I think it would break me as far as my finances and my creative streak, which I'm on, which is modest. Um, might break a few friendships I have. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say who's around for you when you get out of a situation like that. I learned a lot the couple of times I have been, and even a lot of those people who are no longer there. Um, Sometimes by my choice, sometimes by theirs. Um, Again, life putting pressure on all of us, and to where we have to take care of our own. And friendship and hanging out are not, you know they're not luxuries you can count on anymore, at least not in my life. And I miss them, but at the same time, I finally am okay with being alone. I kind of like it. But I did want a companion, and I did. Well, we know how. Well, you don't know how it all turned out, but you're sick of me talking about it, which is where I'm at with everybody. They're sick of me talking about it, but I'm trying to do something about it. And unfortunately, getting it out is the only way that I'm gonna do as much as I can to resolve this kind of, to dig out of this wreckage that I'm in, this inner wreckage. Um, so what else is interesting that's going on? Um, Excuse me, I got a little cold. It's not COVID. It could be, but I don't think it is. Um, I don't have any other symptoms. Um, I am. It's been hard being depressed a lot of the time. It's like when you're depressed and you try to eat like your favorite foods, and you don't taste them. If the flavor is not there, it's minimal. You just put them down, And I started to lose a little weight because of that, which I needed to. Um, but that's how it is. Sometimes I'll look over at things that always give me solace, such as Blu-rays, and books, and things on the internet that I can do, and my story, and music. And I don't know. They're just like, I don't feel them in that moment. That used to happen to me a lot throughout my whole life, and I thought I'd finally kind of licked it a couple of years ago when I started to go into serious recovery for these kind of problems and issues in my life. And I'd finally reached where I'd always wanted to be, which is that my channel was always open to the arts, high and low brow, all over the place. My brain was devouring things the way I'd always wanted it to. There were no like, I'm not in the mood to do that, because of my depression. It was like, do I want to check this out? Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I want to see what this is about. I want to immerse myself in something new. And I think depression keeps a lot of people from expanding their horizons, unfortunately. It's a demon, you know, man, and it's just it's counted me as an enemy for decades. Um, Anxiety also, they're like the twin demons. Um, but anyway, so what has been able to fill gaps for periods of time while I kind of suffer and go through the mind loop thing and the racing thoughts and the over and over and the what did I do wrongs and the why won't this be this ways kind of thing. Um, in my opinion, the things that have worked for me sometimes right now the movies are working for me somewhat. Uh, then I will try to occasionally spice things up with a new film that I have never seen before. It doesn't have to be brand new. On usually, you know, a streaming platform that I have access to, Plex or um, Amazon Prime or YouTube, and I have large watch lists on all three of those uh, areas. Recently, a good friend, Stephen Levin, father of my good buddy, Sean Lee Levin, gave me access to his Shutter account. Shh, don't tell anyone. And so, probably starting, who knows, I could start tonight or I could start next week. But starting soon, I'm going to go ahead and go back over their list again. The last time I poured through their list, it was at my old buddy, the Marksman's house. And I was disappointed at how many of the it's not Shutter's fault, but I was disappointed in how many of the titles I'd already seen and like key titles. So I was looking for more key titles and more harder to find ones, and not as much a lot of the modern glut of mid-level horror, mid-budget horror that's overcoming the universe, of which there are gems scattered throughout, but there's still a lot of dross to kind of scurry through to get to any diamonds. And but anyway, I'd like to check it out now and see what that ratio of you know, dross to jewels there is. Um, so those are some things that, you know, I can do that for periods of time that make me feel better. I'm a big aficionado of the true crime channels on not Facebook, on YouTube, a few of them. This is probably where I should go ahead and give some shout outs that I've tried to do in a few other arbitrary interludes or other segments that had to be reshot for some reason or another. And I think I'm going to have to do something in a minute. So I'm going to break this into two parts, and I will see you very shortly.